Before we begin, two messages. What mobile platform do companies like eBay, NBC Universal, the Los Angeles Times, Razorfish, and PayPal use to build their cross-platform native applications? Titanium by Appcelerator. They aren't alone. There are now over 25,000 apps deployed by Appcelerator, which has been called the Rosetta Stone of app development. And you can start now for free. Just go to www.appcelerator.com for more information. When my company needed to develop a key mobile product, one that I was counting on as a new source of revenue, I knew exactly who to turn to. Macadamian. They delivered on time with incredible attention to detail, and I was able to get product into customers' hands faster than I ever thought possible. I've personally known them for 10 years, and they do make great products even better. Check them out at www.macadamian.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Untether.tv. I'm your host, Rob Woodbridge, also the founder. This is where we bring you those entrepreneurs that are paving the way, that are actually breaking ground on new ways to use mobile, new ways to shop, new ways to interact, new ways to communicate. And that's what we do at this show every week. And got a great show, kind of a new set. I'm borrowing this from the guys at MacGasm. I just happen to be around. Great set. Don't get used to it. It's too rich for our blood. But I'm so excited about this episode because there's been a lot of news about this company. The company is Urban Airship, and I had Scott Kveton, who's the CEO, on the show last February. And obviously, it takes in the mobile space. There's kindred spirits, and we really got into a great dialogue around what Urban Airship was doing around helping communicate from apps to consumer, right on the device. And so much has happened since then. Felt it was a really necessary to get Scott back on here and have this conversation about what is going on with Urban Airship, because if you've been reading the news lately, everything is. So without further ado, I'll bring Scott in. Scott, I'm so excited to have you back on the show.
Thanks for having me, as always, Rob. It's great to be back.
Well, let's talk about what has happened. First of all, how fun has it been since the last time we talked? It was fun back then, but I can't imagine the scale and the scope and the speed with which you guys are moving. How fun has it been?
It's been really fantastic. I mean, I've worked at a lot of different startups. I've gotten a chance to work with some amazing teams, but this one is pretty darn special. We have some just amazing stuff happening. The traction is just phenomenal. I'm putting on some serious road warrior miles. I think I'm crushing it on the legs. But it's been really, 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 really fun. I'm having a blast, and I can't believe that I get to do this every single day. So yeah.
So obviously from a startup's perspective, you walked into a space that in the mobile messaging space, and maybe we can talk about that very quickly. That now, at the time, was visionary, and you guys were in there for a while. But now, Apple moves into the space, and you guys then just, without missing a beat, you go out and do a bunch of great things, like raise money and buy a bunch of companies. So, I really want to talk about this. First of all, what's different? What's different since the last time we spoke?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's different is that, so much has happened in mobile. I mean, mobile is, really finally happening. For years, it's been the year in mobile for the last 10 years. But I think that there's some actual real weight behind this stuff. What's amazing to me just in the last 3 months are, the things that have happened around Google acquiring Motorola, Steve Jobs passing away, and the concerns around what's going to happen with Apple. HP getting out of the PC game. Yeah, you've got Amazon now shaking things up with another Android tablet. So to me, the questions, if you'd asked me even 6 months ago, where is mobile going to be? I would have said it's probably going to be Android by a mile.
Yeah.
But now I kind of think all bets are off, and there's some really exciting things. The bonus for us is the more complicated the more complicated the ecosystem is, the bigger the opportunity that we have, because we help brands make sense of all this sort of spaghetti that's these different platforms and make it easy for them. P&G doesn't want to know all the gory details of the different platforms. They just want to sell you toothpaste. And so, we think we've been able to jump in there and provide some pretty fantastic solutions. And it's definitely keeping us busy. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talk about you all the time, certainly on this other podcast I do, This Week in Location-Based Marketing with Asif Khan. And we talk about Urban Airship, but it's almost revered because, people have always said, we get a lot of comments about it coming back saying, well, what, Urban Airship, aren't they going to get trounced by Apple when they do this? And we always come back and we say, listen, Urban Airship isn't an iOS-only application. I mean, it doesn't apply just to iOS. It's cross-platform. And when a provider is coming or somebody with a problem is coming that wants to communicate, they often have multiple platforms like they've been told to do. And who's going to do that for them in a consistent measure, right? And that's where you guys fit so well.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I remember when we launched the company 2.5 years ago. It's funny that you sort of mentioned sort of visionary. I think that it was more likened to delusional at the time.
I love it.
When I went out and tried to fundraise or even sell customers, pitch customers on this stuff, the key customers, the big ones like ESPN and Tapulous and others, really got it, and that's what got us through the early stages of bootstrapping the company in the first 9 months. Because we knew we had customers that wanted these things. Yeah. I think the other thing that's been huge for us is that we focus so much on exactly what the customers want. And I know that sounds really cheesy, but I've worked at too many companies that have these amazing technical teams that just build amazing technology for the sake of technology. And we've spent a lot of time doing things like customer discovery on new features, direction of the platform, those kinds of things that have really helped us inform the product, pricing, packaging, all these pieces that have helped us grow this business at just a phenomenal pace.
And so what kind of growth have you guys experienced? I mean, adoption, because we were talking about this in February about, listen, this is stuff that we know that app makers and app owners need to do to engage in two-way, or at least re-engage people who have spent the time to bring their application or download their app. What have you seen?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just astounded at how much traction we've gotten. We've got about 25,000 customers now. We're powering about
25,000 customers.
Yeah,
like, is that big growth for you guys?
I can't remember what we were at when we last talked, but probably around maybe 8,000, I think. Yeah. So it's been pretty phenomenal. And then, we're powering about 30,000 apps across iOS, Android, and BlackBerry. We've sent 7 billion notifications since we started the company, and we're now doing 1 billion notifications a month.
A billion notifications?
1 billion notifications a month. And by next month, we'll probably double that. So it's
notifications.
Yeah, we have this sort of this joke around the office, and it's from King of Thrones, I think, but and it's winter is coming. We always joke about the winter for us is huge because what happens is we see this huge spike in traffic that we always think will go down after the holidays, but it actually turns out that's the new norm. And so we built out all this infrastructure about a month ago, preparing for winter basically. And then iOS 5 and the iPhone 4S hit, and we saw about 1,000% increase in API traffic in the last 4 weeks. Wow. So it's amazing how much traction we see on the platform, and the deeper we get with our customers and the larger they have of an install base, the more they actually need us to be able to effectively send messages, essentially in real time, get that reporting back to understand the ROI on it. And help inform future, message delivery. So it's crazy.
It's staggering to me that that kind of growth. But I don't think it should be, because people have obviously woken up and said, listen, this is something that needs to be a part of what we're doing. It's one thing to land, and we talked about this time. It's one thing to land on the desktop of this, on the front screen, but it's another thing to actually get engaged and re-engaged. And it's so important. You spent all that money building it and marketing it. You've got to be able to get them to use it again.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it's an interesting it's an interesting thing that I've seen here over the last couple of months. You have folks who are in big companies, big brands, retailers, whatever, who've been sort of promoted to director of marketing or director of mobile, VP of mobile, and they're now going, oh wait, I have to figure this out. And it's not like you can just take what you learned on the web and sort of shove it at mobile and cross your fingers. It's an entirely different medium. And so this idea that you have this device that you carry with you that knows who you are, knows what you like, knows who your friends are, knows where you are, all these things play into offering, a fantastic platform for engaging with consumers. And if you do it right, it's like it's not like advertising or promoting your brand. It's actually content, relevant content that the user wants. And that to us is really what we're driving towards, is being able to do exactly that.
So how different is it today? Like scope, vision, all those things that we were talking about in February, how different is it today than it was back then? Is it still the same? Are you still driving towards the same thing, just on a bigger scale?
Yeah, we over the course of the summer, we spent some pretty serious time thinking about the business and how it's growing. And, we kept seeing this phenomenal growth, which is fantastic. But we thought, there was an opportunity after we talked to our customers about expanding what we did. We were fortunate enough about 2 weeks ago to finalize an acquisition of Simplegeo. And they brought into the mix a bunch of solutions around their places, context, and storage tools that will actually leverage both with our products, but also offer them individually. So that, really broadened what we were, thinking about in terms of what the platform could deliver. And we know that customers want to pay for those things.
Yep.
The second piece is diving deeper into the device. We love riding on top of the platforms, but, we think we can deliver a much more interesting solution for our customers if we're baked into the device. And so you'll start to see not just mobile, but connected device services. So, think about TVs and set-top boxes that are always connected, tablets, ultra notebooks, you name it. There's a huge opportunity there for providing this infrastructure, that the scaffolding to sort of really make those devices interesting.
So, you talked about the acquisition of Simplegeo, and I want to talk about what that the rest of it is certainly around not just mobile devices but connected devices as well. But let's talk about Simplegeo, because I love this company. I think that this company is an incredible company. They had an open source piece around location data, and they seem to be doing it right. 2 questions on that: why buy Simplegeo? And start with that. Why buy Simplegeo?
Yeah, we'd done a business deal with Simplegeo that we announced at the end of July. Yep. And when we dug in and sort of sat down with them, we both, visited with our customers and talked about this combined roadmap. And then we sat down with the Simplegeo team as we started to go into implementation, and we realized, geez, there's a really strong cultural fit here between our teams. But more importantly, there's a really complementary effect of the products coming together. And because it was vetted by our customers, because our customers said, wow, this is awesome, and if this was on the roadmap, we'd pay even more for your services, it became a natural play for us to try and do the acquisition. But make no mistake about it, acquisitions are tricky things. You have to convince investors. You have to get the entire team excited about coming over and sort of wanting to be a part of a different vision. And but it's great. It actually worked out fantastically. We about 13 engineers came over with the acquisition, and a bunch of fantastic technology. We've got an office now in San Francisco, and it's just great. It couldn't have worked out better. So
do you kind of have obviously you already partnered with Simplegeo, but do you now have a broader vision for what they bring and how it combines with Urban Airship's core product into next gen?
Yeah, it's definitely around a lot of the things that we've been thinking about. It's great to be able to send a notification to a user, but it's much more interesting to send one that's contextually relevant. In other words, if we can automatically segment a customer's user base for them by gender, how much money they make, where they tend to frequent, those kinds of things all help us further refine how we deliver those notifications. And again, driving towards creating sort of these smart notifications that we'll start to see here in the probably Q1 and Q2 of 2012. So for us, it was a natural fit. There was also a huge component around their storage engine. We're generating so much behavioral data on a daily basis that we needed a different engine for being able to sort of store and manage that over time. And so we're actually able to leverage their storage infrastructure for that, which we're super excited about.
So was the reason that, Simplegeo, you guys were already doing work with them at this point. So I mean, did you look at other providers of this content, or was it just such a natural choice because the culture fit, as you were saying, because you were already working together?
Yeah, I think it was just a natural fit. We weren't at the time, sort of shopping around. It was definitely opportunistic. And so, it just happened to work out. Now that we're post financing and have a much clearer sort of direction on vision and growth of the business, we'll definitely start to look at potential, other companies that we could acquire. Definitely, I think we're going to start to see more consolidation in mobile,
Yeah.
and I think it's starting now. And we definitely want to be a part of that so that we can continue to grow our business and keep pace with the rest of the market.
It's funny because, oftentimes I see companies, and I don't know if Urban Airship, in my head when we were talking about this in February, fit into that realm. I mean, I love what you guys do. I think it's such a relevant piece. But I often see companies that are a piece of, a smaller piece of somebody else's broader product. And, maybe it struck me as then that Urban Airship was a piece in somebody's broader market or broader pocket or product. But what you're doing here is you are creating that broader product with Urban Airship as the center of it. Is that accurate? Do you feel, or am I way off?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And when we started the business 2.5 years ago, we weren't really sure the exact direction. We just knew that customers needed this solution.
Yeah.
As we've grown over time, as we've built up these fantastic relationships with brands and media companies, we've realized the direction that we need to head and where we can really carve out some value for ourselves and our customers. And so that is what's really been informing this future vision of the business. And we're excited, to kind of roll up our sleeves and start going hard at it.
So not only do you talk about you acquired Simplegeo, and this happens. Timing is always perfect for this, of course, right? But the next thing that you announce, a little bit later on, recently, obviously within the last 10 days, is you closed a $15 million round with some big players, strategic partners, and big players. First of all, congratulations. I mean, that's worthwhile. I mean, it seems like you've still got color in your face and you don't have big bags under your eyes. So we know how painful sometimes and long this can be. But was that a long process for you guys, or was the story that you're telling just so compelling that people just jumped into this?
Well, the old saying goes, you're not fundraising, but you're fundraising, or otherwise known as you're always fundraising. So, we probably spent a good 6 months working on putting this deal together and what it would look like. But it wasn't 6 months every single day. So yeah, I mean, it definitely took us a while to put it together. But we were really happy with the results. And when we announced it a week ago. On last Monday, would have been whatever the date was.
It's like I can understand.
Yeah, so we announced Salesforce and Verizon, and actually tomorrow, although you'll see this today, so it doesn't really matter, we'll be announcing that actually Intel also participated in that, which we're super excited about. So now we're talking about chip and platform makers. You've got the enterprise side with Salesforce, and then of course Verizon as a carrier, which is sort of the direction that we think the market's going. And for us to get baked into devices and connected devices, we're going to need relationships like that to make that go.
Well, talk a little bit about that, because getting embedded in, what exactly do you mean by that? Dive into it. Give me a good example of what you hope that achieves that at the software layer you can't do right now.
Yeah, so we've each of the different platforms has their own set of services that power, that we ride on top of. In the case of Apple, it's Apple's push notification service. In the case of Google, it's the cloud to device messaging. BlackBerry has their BlackBerry Push API. Windows Phone, the same thing. Well, we actually built a similar solution. We call it Helium, and it's basically not identical, but it's a lot like APNS, C2DM, those kinds of things.
Yep.
The interesting bit is we have some IP around it and some pretty interesting technology that helps our customers leverage Helium on a range of different devices. So if they want to be able to do push notifications on, say, an Ultra notebook or a tablet that maybe isn't running in Android, they can do that with our solution. We do some tricky things on the device so that we're not always firing up the radio, wireless radio, so we're not chewing up a lot of bandwidth, so we're not wearing down the battery. And that's proven to be really, really effective. And then, of course, that's sort of the last mile delivery piece. But our customers also will get all of the benefits of reporting, the push composer, the simple RESTful API, rich push. All these pieces layer on top of what we think is sort of an end-to-end solution here. Right. And that's just scratching the surface. So if we can start to power notifications for an entire device, we then can do some really interesting things around, hey, we know all the notifications that are coming into this device. We know when a user reacts to them. We know how they react to them. And of course, we're very sensitive to privacy. We have no personally identifiable information about our users, but we do know from a sort of an aggregate data perspective how they respond to notifications. And then we can help our customers better reach those users to get the opt-in messages that they want, when they want them, when they're going to be most effective.
I mean, what does it take? What does it take to actually get embedded? It's one of these things. Right? We talk about it as that layer between the processor and the glass. On deck really was the precursor in the mobile space. But what does it really take to get embedded right in there?
It takes building a relationship with these vendors who are building these solutions. I also think some of the complexity in the marketplace is allowing us to kind of jump into some of these places. I think that some of the handset folks, especially folks who've been really closely aligned with Android, are a little nervous about the Google Motorola story, and they're definitely looking for ways that they can hedge their bets or potentially offer solutions that differentiate them from just sort of other Android devices. So that's definitely one that I think is very interesting for us. Yeah.
So in the middle of the turmoil, you can kind of have a beacon of light shining down on what it is that you're doing, so that it removes that. We talk about this all the time, that friction. And if you give somebody too many options, no decision gets made. And by kind of offering a simple solution that goes across all of these platforms in a way that is already inherently there, with some with metrics and value associated with it, all of a sudden you've got quite a compelling story. So is that what kind of Intel looks at and says, yeah, we're going to make a bet on you guys?
Yeah, I think so. And we had a lot of traction. I think we've been the market leader, I think, in this space, both in terms of traction, customers, growth, all those kinds of things. The other interesting thing that we found too is that since we announced the round last week, and with this the strategics that have participated, it's really changed the conversation with our customers. Here these director of mobile, VP of mobile folks are all asking themselves, how do we, what do we do? What products do we choose? What solutions do we bank on? Because I was talking to Amy Carr at the Gap, and she was talking about how they got 100 venture-backed companies a week coming in telling Gap, hey, we got this new solution. It's going to blow your mind. It's going to change your business forever. And she doesn't get to bet on those. She has to pick the winners. And she only gets to pick one or two, not like 100. Yeah. So to me, that was really, really interesting to see and to hear. And so now, I think we have some validation in the space that's really helping customers go, okay, look, Urban Airship's going to be around. They have these fantastic customers, but now they have the backing of market leaders who get what they're doing. And I think that's been extremely helpful for us.
Yeah, it's such an interesting play, because I recently did a little video on Starbucks, and I think it's the same thing here. Is that a litmus test isn't a litmus test of the kind of innovation in mobile is everywhere. Everywhere you turn, there's innovation, right? There's companies that are building, and it's where you guys were, a year and a half ago. It's an idea, you're germinating the idea, you're building it up.
Yeah.
But how many companies, you're right, go into Gap or go into Starbucks and pitch them on an idea and say, this is the future for you. But it's the decisions that those companies make solidify the next generation of companies, right? Like when the Gap says, yeah, you're it, Urban Airship, or Starbucks says, yeah, you're it, X number, Foursquare, or whatever it is, because that's really what gave rise to some of these young companies, because they're now acting as the supreme analyst that says, I don't care if whatever Gartner says in whatever quadrant you lie in, you're in our top right. You are the company. So those are the guys that we should be looking at. I would, by assumption, that we should be looking at those guys and the decisions they're making as the market leaders in that industry. I'm not saying that because you've been chosen, but
Well, I don't know if we've been chosen, but we definitely, I think, have some pretty fantastic momentum in that direction. But I would like nothing more than in the next couple of years to be, nobody got fired for buying Urban Airship, right? Which would be a nice place to be. Anyways, yeah, so super exciting, lots of good stuff happening. We're still just jazzed as can be. We're 51 people now. We're probably going to be hiring another 30 people in the next 6 to 8 months. It's crazy. Yeah.
So, I mean, talk about that process that you guys have gone through from, not only as, integrating a company like Simplegeo. It's been a short time, so I'm not even going to ask about that. But, you've been working together since July, and obviously talking about it well before then. What's it like to be a part of one of those fast-growing, like 51 people and growing, almost doubling your team in the next 8 or 9 months?
Culture is, I think, the sort of the tie that binds on these things.
Yeah.
And a lot of people pay lip service to culture. They think that they can just kind of, buy a ping pong table or, get a keg. Exactly, right? And that will, then it'll magically happen. But culture is one of those things that takes every single day. We have our unofficial director of culture is Barb, who runs our office, and she is so good at not only keeping her pulse on the team, but also coming up with all these fantastic things to do. So we did a scavenger hunt all throughout Portland, back in March, which was just the most fun thing ever. We had no idea what we were in for, but everybody had a blast. And at the time we were probably 23 people. So that was just fantastic. We threw a huge zombie ball, and when we threw the zombie ball, we actually had a dance instructor come in and teach the team how to do the Thriller dance, which we then did.
Did you tape that at least?
We taped it. It's up on the internet. It's absolutely hilarious. But again, it's those little kinds of things that are really, really interesting. And pulling in the Simplegeo team, the day after we announced the acquisition and finalized it, we had a team of folks. I was down there along with a couple of other of our team to dive in with their team and get them, onboarded right away. Get them, involved in the process of how we do development here. We started a program where every week for the rest of the year, we'll send 2 people from Portland down there, and we'll bring 2 people from there up here, so that we start to get sort of an individual integration for the folks. We've offered anybody in the Portland office that wants to move to San Francisco can. Anybody in the San Francisco office that wants to move up here can. We're going to keep both. The headquarters will always be here in Portland, but we see the advantage there. We already have. I think we're going to have one person move down to San Francisco, and potentially somebody coming up here from San Francisco, or one down to Portland, one down to San Francisco, one coming up. So it all works for us at the end of the day. But all these are sort of these complex challenges for keeping a culture and keeping a team excited. But like I said, I've never seen on last Friday, I was at the office till 6:30 on Friday, and people were just still in the office, having a good time. We had our happy hour. We do a happy hour every week at 4 p.m. And it's great. It's really, really fun to see, and the momentum, I think, is one of those things that helps get people excited about going the extra mile, working the extra hours.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta ask, as you guys are north, and San Francisco is kind of in this glow right now in the mobile space. Are you seeing that? Are you feeling that? Or we talked a little bit about it in February about is this artificially inflated? Because we've always talked about the year of the mobile, and it's finally happening, and we can say that this year. But are you worried about things like a bubble being popped, or reality setting in, or the economy adjusting the way people are spending? Does that enter your mind as you're going through this kind of expansion phase?
It always does. I mean, it always does, because we raised $15 million, and that's great, and that definitely gives us a little bit of cushion. I don't want to see the economy do another double dip, but we're focused on delivering solutions for big businesses, big retailers, brands, you name it, and they're paying us a lot of money to do it. And at the end of the day, I think we're going to become a value driver for them. In other words, creating, helping them grow their businesses and really take advantage of mobile. And I think that as long as we keep ourselves positioned like that, no matter what happens in the macro economy, we should be, fine. That said, we're extremely careful, with how we're growing the business. It's, raising the round of financing is great, but it's the start of, the starting pistol, not the finish line. So we've been thinking hard about, okay, great, we brought in Simplegeo. What are the things that we can do to cut costs in terms of, hey, we pay for a lot of the same things. Can we get some benefits from doing that? Maintaining 2 offices can be expensive. Yeah. But the bonus for us, we've been growing revenue anywhere from 15 to 25% month over month this entire year, and we see no signs of that letting up. And while we have this unbelievable engineering team who's built this just great product, we also have all the other pieces. The marketing is aligned with the sales team who does all the direct sales. That side of the house is, almost 12 people now, right? Yeah. And that's an important piece that I think a lot of people forget. Like, you can't just cross your fingers and hope everybody's going to show up. And we've found that the deals that we've struck with these customers, we may sign them for just push or in-app purchase, but then they come back later and want more from us. So we think there's some pretty interesting things happening here, and no matter what happens with the macroeconomic side of things, I think we'll be all right.
You have some room too. You have some levers to play, which is great. For sure. I often talk to entrepreneurs who are raising money or trying to raise money, and they'll come and they'll ask me, I say, is this a good valuation, or should I do this? And my advice is always around this time frame is to take as much as you can at the valuation that you feel comfortable with, right? So whatever you're willing to give up and whatever the valuation is, and the constraints on that money, because it's never free, but and what you want to do with it. Especially when we're riding into kind of a little bit of uncertainty, it's always about, okay, listen, you got to ensure the safety of the company first, everything else comes second. And I think that as long as you have options, that's the key, right? Especially in this space. For sure. So now you've got this swing of massive momentum, right? Great customers, 25,000 customers. You've raised the money, you've brought in Simplegeo, and now you're working with Intel. You kind of, I love the layer on top, certainly of what you're doing. I love the embedded layer. I think that's really, everybody wants to be that, and certainly if you guys are the market leader, get in there and do that. What are you envisioning for the next little while? So you're going to be driving towards that, but how does this play out for you guys? How big do you want to be? What's your reach that you want to achieve? Is there anything that you're thinking of here?
Well, we definitely, today we're on about 250 million devices. And we've said the next 2 years we want to be on 1 billion devices. I'd love to be baked into 1 billion devices, and so we're definitely going hard at that. The other reason we took this financing is that we want to build a strong, independent company right here in Portland, and we'll have offices all over the place, but we think there's been a significant advantage to being here in Portland because we haven't had to duke it out with Zynga or Facebook or Google or Amazon for talent. So we've kind of been able to sort of fly under the radar here and just keep growing this fantastic business. But we are definitely looking hard at how do we grow this even further. We're hiring a VP of marketing now. We're bringing on some strategic sales members. It's the scope of the business is changing, and so is the makeup. So it's exciting.
So obviously, when you bring in some venture money, it's totally exciting. I love hearing this because it just logic and a good market and great execution. It doesn't always mean success, but at least you're on the right path. But when you bring on outside investors, and maybe not the strategic guys that you did because they're much more patient, but are they, or are you thinking about an exit, or is it too soon to think about that right now?
We don't really think very hard about an exit. Candidly, we're just heads down building a heck of a business. I think if we wanted to sell the business, we probably could have a while ago. And the reality is we're having too much fun, and we just see so many interesting things on the horizon, and the momentum of the business is so exciting that we're just we're gonna let it ride. So yeah,
I love that. Yeah, it's not built to flip, and if you do, I won't hold it against you. But certainly, yeah, all the power to you. everybody's always got a price, and I think that that's something that is baked into every deal. Is that there's a threshold where I love what I'm doing, but I could also love spending a lot more time on the beach somewhere, right? So that's that balance.
I don't know if I'll ever end up on a beach. I think if we ever did sell this or IPO or whatever, I think I'd keep running it. But I know I'll do another one of these at least. It's just too darn fun. But we've been really lucky both with the new investors that have come on and our existing investors. I tell entrepreneurs that I talk to all the time that look, everybody's check cashes. It's what happens after the money comes in that's the interesting stuff. And we've been just insanely lucky to have True Ventures, who did our A, and then Founder Group, who did our B. They've been, not just on the board, they've been on speed dial. They've been helping me with difficult deals. They've been helping me find talent. All those kinds of things just help grow the business. Yeah. And it's what makes the venture model work if everybody's aligned. The other one is just having those guys on the board has been fantastic. I mean, for me, if I see a lot of people who start lifestyle businesses, yeah, and they can grow a nice business. But what I like is the board constantly pushes me. The board's job is to hire, train, and fire the CEO. And so they push me really, really hard to build a compelling business, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
But have you done this before? All of this?
I've run several different companies, but I think this is without a doubt the biggest, and the in terms of momentum, funds raised, all that kind of stuff. For me, what I found is the job of CEO isn't to do everything; it's to make sure everything gets done.
Right.
And so for me, I've put a lot of emphasis on having fantastic advisors who are engaged on a weekly basis. A great board, and I pull from those folks all the time. I actually use this really great tool that I love. It's called ThinkFuse, thinkfuse.com. They're still in private beta, but ping me if you want access. I know those guys; they're fantastic. But what's great about ThinkFuse is it forces me to send a weekly report to all my investors, all my advisors, and it starts emailing me on Friday morning about every hour until I file the report. And so I've been doing this for about a year now. And what's great is when I run into an advisor or an investor, I don't have to update them, right? I can just go straight to the heart of the matter. Oh, I'm stuck on this thing still. And they have all the context. They know what's going on. Plus, it keeps it top of mind. If you're going to have an advisor or an investor, you want to be top of mind so that when they're out having meetings, they're always thinking of you too. So it's a little bit selfish. But anyways, I'm totally off task right now. Sorry.
No, but I mean, this is very interesting because regardless of what happens in whatever space you're in, and you're right now it's mobile. I mean, and it's going to be mobile. It's going to fragment. It's going to mobile's no longer a niche. There's 13 niches inside of mobile. Whatever industry you're in, it all comes down to those fundamentals, and you're kind of displaying that is that. It starts with a great idea, but it also starts with a great leadership team. It also then falls and it behooves the great leaders to then get the great mentors, great board members and advisors, and then that leads to great investors, and those investors prop instead of knock you down. Right. They give you enough leash to do what you need to do, not to hang yourself because they're there with you. Right? It's not like here, take it, and then you end up hanging from it. But it's business fundamentals, but it stems from somewhere. Like it stems from the germ of an idea, and also the people that are running this, the people that you got to have faith in the people running it, and why I'm saying this now in a mobile video podcast is because I see a lot of companies that have a semblance of an idea and nothing else, and they wonder why they're not turning this into something. And you have to have it all. Just like you were starting up a different kind of business, not in mobile, it doesn't mean that the fundamentals of business change. And I think that's what you guys are demonstrating here, right?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, and again, it's that comes back to the board. I'd love to think that like I'm some genius and that I'm growing this amazing business myself, but the reality is it takes a village. And, when the board came to me, during a board meeting, I think it was in December of last year, they said, geez, we're looking at this org chart and there's like 18 engineers, you and a sales guy. Like, you can't grow your business that way. Where's the sales team? What are you doing on marketing? Why is there, it's probably time to have a BD guy.
Yeah.
And so, I took that to heart. And by, February of this year, we had those pieces filled and started to grow those. And sure enough, revenue followed. So
it's amazing, isn't it? These guys know what they're talking about.
Funny, right? Like how these things work. But, the fundamentals are still the fundamentals no matter what you're doing. Yeah. And for me, it's been neat to get to learn all the different pieces of the business. I mean, traditionally, my background is engineering. I've got a computer science degree, which I haven't used in years. But, it's learning these different pieces of the business, getting to leverage the investors and the advisors to help, grow each of those units, and then watching the team come together. We have this fantastic exec team that just blows me away every day. So, yeah.
So I one last question, and then I'll let you go and on with your busy day. And I really appreciate you spending the time here. What is there anything has stuck out for you in the last 9 months since we've spoken that really has either hit home or has surprised you, or has about the business that you're in, about the mobile industry or in general? Is there anything that you've just looked at and said, yeah, either so thankful we did this, or I'm so thankful we didn't do this?
I think it was, having a couple of investors come back to us, folks who passed on us originally, kind of saying, wow, do I wish I got in on this, and I don't have any problem with it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's actually my fault that they didn't invest because I couldn't sell them on it, right? And the partnerships. But it is kind of nice to be able to hear that, and know that what we're building is even bigger than what we thought we were starting to build. And the momentum, just the deals signed every week, the growth that we see on the platform, the customers who are coming to the table, just every single week is crazy. And while we have these great announcements around fundraising and the acquisition, there's all the stuff behind the scenes that we know that's happening that we're just like, oh my gosh, that just gets everybody super, super excited, and just working their asses off. So yeah.
Well, I mean, it's such a great story, and it's not a story. It's not fiction. It's a straight up nonfiction business that is going on around, and these. I mean, companies like Urban Airship are kind of bellwethers in this industry. So they're we're going to look back, and I think I always talk about this around these step technologies, which is mobile, where small companies become massive companies when there's a step in technology. I keep bringing Adobe did it during the internet era. I mean, Adobe came from nothing and became the internet company, right?
Yep.
And big companies fail. Right? If you look at what happened during the internet era, and if you look what happened in the mobile space, Motorola, right? Gone.
Yeah.
And I look to you guys like Urban Airship. I look at guys like Accelerator. These guys who are now striking and doubling down and putting the knuckles on the ground and barreling through. I think that this is one of those, and I hope that this is true. And I know you believe this, that this is one of those companies that 3, 4, 5 years down the road, we're going to be talking about how did Urban Airship get to be like the de facto messaging platform, or how are they sending out 1 billion notifications a minute, right? I mean, that's what can happen in this industry, right?
Totally.
And you can do it.
Yeah, hey, that's what we're trying to, anyways.
So Scott, obviously, how do people find out about? There's a lot of questions around the integration with Simplegeo and what it means for that open source piece that they were doing before. How do people find out information about what you guys are up to?
Sure. Yeah. So we've got a blog post up that's a preliminary fact that sort of explains what we're going to be doing with the platform. We're huge supporters of open source here at Urban Airship, and we'll continue to be so for on into the future. And so we'll definitely respect the agreements and promises that Simplegeo's made in that respect. But yeah, definitely check out the FAQ. You can read more at urbanairship.com or urbanairship.com/blog, and we got a bunch of informative posts up there about what's happening. And then look for sort of Q1 of 2012, where we'll really start to talk about the combined roadmap and what we're going to be bringing to market. Our goal is in Q1 to launch the first combined product between the two different companies, or the combined entity, I should say. Yeah. And so we're excited about that.
Well, I can't wait to see what you guys do. And I'm going to have you on in maybe 6 months again to see how things are rolling.
Love to.
Or the next time the next company that you buy that is so significant. Because really, I mean, we talk about Simplegeo and we talk about Urban Airship all the time, and at least I do. Sometimes to my wife, sometimes to my kids. But I love the fact that I'm a big fan of both of these companies. They come together, and I can't wait to see what you guys do. It's gonna be pretty cool.
We're excited. It's going to be great.
Well, Scott, again, I appreciate your time coming on and talking about this. Incredible 9 months it's been for you guys. I can't wait to see what happens next. For those of you who are watching, go to urbanairship.com/blog. Great post up there about what it means for Simplegeo if you are a big fan of Simplegeo as well. But more so than this, I'll put this out there. Just stay tuned to what Urban Airship is doing, because I believe this is one of those companies in this space that is going to accelerate to a point where it's going to be a household name. You might even not know that you're using it, but you're going to be using it. And that's the perfect piece in my mind. I don't know. How's that, Scott?
That's great. That's great. And thanks again for having me as always. It's always good to catch up.
I love it. I've been speaking with Scott Kveton, who is the CEO of Urban Airship. Go to urbanairship.com for more information. Scott, thank you for doing this. Much appreciated.
No problem. My pleasure.
Thank you for watching or listening wherever you are, whatever you're doing. You know, I love it. If you have any feedback for this or any other episode, hit me up at untethered@gmail.com. If you have a suggestion for a guest, do the same thing. I'd love to hear it. I respond to all my email. Until next time, this has been another episode of Untethered.tv. Thank you all for watching.